with Paul Daner, Mark Shalafoo, from listener questions to some running gags. Insider stories, ambush live, that dad life and respect for flags. Kick off the weekend, all right? It's the Growler Friday Show. It's Who Dey Light.
All right, welcome into the latest edition of Who Dey Light. Paul Daner Jr., Mark Shalafoo here with you. Happy Friday to you, Mark. How we doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you back from Florida, back to this great Cincinnati weather. I'm sure you're really digging it right now.
It's really great. You know what's really awesome is when you leave your family for a couple of days and you're literally in a lift going to your hotel, following along as a tornado goes right near your house and your parents' house simultaneously. You're like, well, this is a really helpless feeling. This is just awesome. This is great. So
everybody I love is getting blown away, but you know what? Yeah. I'm in Florida. Let's go.
Yeah. Hard to feel happy for yourself in that moment, no doubt. But you know, it's great to be back and see how awful things are here right now. Is it just going to be raining for the next 4 days straight?
Do you have a rain flag that you raise when there's bad weather in the springtime?
Yeah, put the ARC flag up. Yeah, the ARC flag. No, I don't have an ARC flag. I need one. I need an ARC flag. I have the Reds flag up currently.
In honor of Power Stacks?
In honor of Power Stacks, but I think that's the only thing it would be in honor of right now. I don't usually fly the Reds flag in honor of 3 consecutive 1-0 losses. But you know what? I got to say, it's a great chance for me to plug Power Stacks because Charlie and Brian just did a great conversation about how seriously you need to take the offensive issues that have happened here lately in terms of there was a DEFCON scale that they were rating everything on, you know, not actual war, just baseball talk, but it was great. It was really, really interesting. And I was happy they did it because it made me feel, it didn't necessarily make me feel better about what's happening, but it made me feel definitely much smarter about what's happening and know what I should be actually concerned about. So if you're not listening to Power Stacks, go give it a great rating, 5-star rating, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. They new episodes up there now.
It's the Growler Network now. Come on, you got to support the network.
Got to support it.
The first
if
show.
If you're a Reds fan, it's a great show.
Even if you're just a fan of the Growler, you keep the brand alive. Go online. Go, leave a good 5-star review on Spotify or Apple or whatever you listen to podcasts on. Help those dudes out. It's a good show.
You were out in Hamilton. How was the Hamilton show? Jay
Hamilton
came to the show.
Good. Yeah. It's, that's even better than having Growl pals come out on the road is having Growler co-hosts come out to the show. So yeah, it was good to see Jay and his wife.
I mean, you did go to his neighborhood.
I know. So. It makes it a lot easier. It's not an indictment of you. I wasn't, putting that out there like, gosh, I don't know why Paul didn't make the journey up here to Hamilton, but it was a very Hamilton-y show. So it was a fun night and interesting.
I'm gonna assume that's a compliment.
There's compliments in there.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them are compliments.
All right. What's your favorite Bengals story of the week?
Well, I guess I got to go to you for this. So I'm a guy that shoots from the hip a lot, especially when it comes to football stuff. I'm just like, I'll watch a dude for a while and I'm like, this guy stinks. And then I go to you, who is a learned football person, somebody who is in the profession, who understands the game. And you set me straight. You're like, no, this guy doesn't stink. He's going to get 10 sacks next year. Don't worry. He's going to be fine. So I go to you for like that kind of expertise. So
can we get one show? Can I get just one single show where the Miles Murphy thing doesn't get brought up? I've said lots of things. And
I didn't say my name.
One thing that you latch on to.
I was trying to make it subtle.
It's okay. It just seems like we always end up in the same place every week.
I was going to let the people infer whatever they wanted from that.
They
could have taken it anyway.
Sure. Okay.
But you always set me straight, at least, on what the real story is. Like, so then when I talk to other people, I can be on the right side. I don't sound like an idiot where I'm just saying, the Bengals are cheap. I don't want to be that guy that's saying stuff that doesn't make sense anymore, right? So I need your help with the Trey Hendrickson stuff because I feel like, with all that's blowing up, I'm not sure what side to be on here. I'm a big vibes guy now. We mocked it last offseason with the Jamar Chase stuff, and it turned out to be a little bit more of a deal. What are the vibes going to be like now? Jamar gets his money. T gets his money. We were all happy about that. The Trey thing I thought was going to get settled a little bit earlier. Is this going to hurt our vibes? the Trey stuff dragging out the way it is?
I don't think so. You know why? Because this is nothing new. This is the same thing that Trey has been doing for years. I don't know how much we need to recap the situation, but for those that don't know the situation, when we talked to Katie on Tuesday in Palm Beach, she was talking about the Trey Hendrickson situation, and she said, quote, I think he should be happy at certain rates that maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at. I think some of it is on him to be happy at some point, and if he's not, that's what holds it up sometimes. So it takes him to say yes to something. And also, we have all the respect in the world for him. He's been a great player. We're happy to have him. And so maybe we'll find a way to get something to work. We're just going to see where it goes. Trey, not very happy about someone telling him that he should be happy about what they're offering him, decides the next day that he's going to go on Pat McAfee and air his grievances for a while. It's really just kind of par for the course. In this is the Trey Hendrickson experience. I mean, when part of his diatribe on McAfee was talking about how I've been trying to get this extension for the last 3 years. That's true. He's been making demands, threats, trade requests, all of this stuff, complaining about his contract and wanting more money and all of this for years, like every offseason, and including in one of those where he signed an extension that is the reason that he's in this spot in the first place. And so changing the vibes, I don't know. I think it's just normal. I think this is what it's normally like for anybody that's been around Trey, is he's unhappy about his contract situation every offseason. And I get it. Like, he feels like he should be making more, and he feels like he could make more elsewhere, and he's not. And the Bengals are far from being without fault here. But in terms of vibes, like, this is just what playing with Trey Hendrickson is. And I think anybody that's been around here is used to it. You know what? Are we comfortable with Treys of our lives as we do this? Are we comfortable with this?
I think I'm on board.
You're on board with it because we have a sound.
Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
I want to start using this every single time that we have to talk about Trey Hendrickson, is to break out the days of our lives opener for Treys of our lives. And I need to be better with AI. I was trying to get AI to create one where it actually says Treys of our lives in that sounder. So if anybody has like some good AI skills, send me one that says Treys of our lives or has him with the hourglass. I'm in for it. I think we need it because I don't think this is going away anytime soon. This is going to be going on for a while. I'm a little surprised that he decided to just air everything out publicly the next day after the comment from Katie, which, I mean, it's his right. He's frustrated. He's weaponized McAfee that way, and good for him.
How dare he sully the name of Pat McAfee like that with cheap contract ploys?
Well, I mean, look, it's a platform, and if you want to go do that he's got that at his disposal, and good for him. But it's just exhausting, like I find the whole thing quite exhausting.
Yeah, and the thing that I don't understand about it is, like, it feels much different than the other two. I like having a clear person to root for, and Jamar, and especially T. Higgins. I felt good about those deals. This one does feel a little bit sloppier just because of all the stuff you mentioned, all the other drama where he demands a trade, but requests a trade, and then that went away really fast. And then he seemed like totally happy, loves Cincinnati, hates Cincinnati, loves the city, doesn't want to play here, maybe wants to get traded, who knows, signs the extension, seems happy. And like, there's just part of it that doesn't quite click where I can just be like, yeah, Trey's the guy. Also, you throw in his age. Yeah, that is a concern if you're going to throw like 3 or 4 years you can't quite do that like you can with somebody like Jamar Chase at his age.
Well, it's like, and even within one segment, it's like, oh, I don't want to come. I'm not here to come. I don't want to complain about anything, but here I am on this show talking about this. Oh, I don't need to be the top highest paid, but hey, the I'm on Zillow and the price is going up and the old price isn't the new. And it's like, it's sort of like saying both things at the same time. He's just frustrated. He's someone in the middle of a negotiation who's very frustrated, and understandably so. Like, I get it. He feels like he should be getting what these other guys are getting, and he's not going to, because the Bengals are saying this is kind of like the offer. When you signed the extension, you tied yourself to us for this other year, and that comes with things like having to deal with us. And this is what we're going to give to you, and you can kind of play on this. You can play for this money. We're giving you more money, or you can play out the one more year of your contract and enjoy free agency next year and get the payment that you would like to get. That's a hard thing to hear. That pisses you off, and no one should like that. But it's just the play-by-play of this going back and forth and on and on. It's like no one likes that. It's just it's exhausting to have to hear and deal with all of this.
And, both sides are at fault. You said that earlier, and I feel like that's an important thing to hammer home, too, because it's not like they made any contingencies here. You're pretty reliant on Trey Hendrickson being a big part of your pass rush again. The guy was dominant last year, and it's not like they made a ton of offseason moves to really supplement that or plan for a life after him. The trade, I don't know. I think on McAfee, they threw out some sort of high trade ask or whatever it was. Maybe it wasn't that high. Maybe it was higher than it should have been. Doesn't matter. They didn't really plan for a world where they don't have Trey Hendrickson starting on their defense next year.
No, I mean, the Bengals are very much at fault by not figuring out a plan for this before they got into free agency. Talking around people around the league meetings, I mean, there's a sense from the other teams the Bengals were never really serious about trading Trey Hendrickson. And so it seems like they kind of wanted to end up in this spot almost, but not really having the plan before free agency with T and Jamar and Trey, and just having it figured out and taken care of. It forced them to change how they approached free agency. They didn't have contingency plans to actually make something happen, and you end up in this where the frustration, the festering of this situation turns it into a full-blown issue, and now it's this full-blown public discourse. I don't know how much that's going to change or affect anything other than it turns everybody off. It does get people talking the same way they always do about the Bengals and the way they operate. But it's like that just, I don't know, that stuff doesn't really resonate anymore. It's like people were just yelling about how they can't believe they finally paid people, and then now they're going to get back to, oh wait, good, they're cheap again. Now you can start down that road. And I just think it's a complicated situation for them, and they're in the middle of these ugly negotiations, and now it's all very public. And it's not, because I think there's a thought that Katie went out to make sure this point was made. I think she did not phrase it very well. But I think her point and the tone of it all, being one of the few people that was actually there at the conversation, was not one of screw Trey, he's find a way to be happy. It was just saying that's part of almost any negotiation, right? Is one side has to find their point that they're happy with. And when they're willing to do that, or when they're willing to say, if you're not happy, then the other option is to play out this year of this contract, like that. And anybody in any business has to do that. You have to decide, I either take what's on the table for me here, what my best option here, or whatever my other option is, and what will make me most happy. I think it came out wrong, and then it got viraled, and that's that. And so everybody kind of takes it from there. But once it's out there though, and once Trey comes off the boat and goes to Pat McAfee's show and does all of that, it's out of control.
But then he had a nice shout out for the zoo in there. That's fun.
It is a great zoo.
It's such a weird moment though, like to sneak that one in there. Is he that big of a zoo guy that he's
Didn't know
using that platform to be like, hey, we really got to push this Cincinnati zoo over the top here. People are sleeping on this zoo.
He's like, look, I'll come on your show, Pat, and air all my grievances under one condition. I got to give the zoo some love. They're my people. My big Thane Maynard guy. Maybe he is.
Maybe that would be good for all of his, like if he wants to do the whole tour and just really start to air out every little bit of this, he could go on Dan Patrick and be like, you know what? The Newport Aquarium is great. I just want to really spend more time here to explore that. And then maybe, just keep going down that path.
I like the idea. Have you ever been to they have the Zoo La La event or Zoo Brew where you can come and you can drink wine or beer, and there's all these different vendors that are there. It's after hours just for adults, and they'll have some special encounters, where come down to the cheetah run, and someone stands out in front of it and talks, and they do a special thing with the cheetah, or they're walking around with this snake or whatever. I like the idea that Trey just shows up at one of those and he's like, oh, this is the cheetah, this is what it's gonna do, and it's gonna run here, and oh, by the way, it is ridiculous what's happening with my contract situation, and I'm not gonna be talked to like this, and I should be getting 4 years and $35 million. I just love the idea of him actually going to the zoo and at one of these events and deciding I need to go spout off over here as well.
Like a politician on the campaign trail. Yeah.
He's a zoo guy. It's where he does it.
He's working the line, people feeding the giraffes. He's like, you know what? Most defensive ends are getting paid right now, and what I'm getting paid. And they're like, man, I just want to give this leaf to a giraffe with my kid. I don't know what Micah Parsons is asking, but you're a great player. I hope you get it. Hope you do good.
Yeah, the leaf to the giraffe is $2. That's as far as my knowledge of the monetary.
Yeah, that's the financial expertise that I've got.
That's what I've got.
How's it going to play out though? I feel like this ends the same way that we thought it was going to end, where they'll throw some more money at him. Maybe not 3 years, but
I don't know. I don't think it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end soon. And that's the thing. I just think this is going to go on for a while. The one thing, Zach Taylor was kind of talking about the Henderson situation, which was a non-update basically, but he's just kind of talked about having patience with it and the process playing out. And it just feels like patience is going to be necessary with everybody with this, because I don't think that the end certainly does not feel close. And if there's one thing, I know the way people have spoken out publicly about this situation, not this one in particular, but all of these, between Burrow's comments and T and Jamar and the things that have been said, and Mike G, of course, 4 out of the 5 boxes are currently checked on the Burrow checklist. But the way all that happened is it suggests that can work. Maybe I can tell you this version where you go on and you're kind of on a personal attack. Now, people say that Katie did the attack first. I'm just going to try to relay my one point here, is that when the player is doing that, I know that this ownership, I've seen this before. They will dig in harder than they ever have and be more stubborn than they ever have with whatever their belief is, which I think we know what it is at this point. And so I don't see them budging in their assessment of it at this point because of anything that was said on the Pat McAfee show. I can say that much. So it just feels like the end is, they're not close and the end isn't close. So I think it's going to be a lot more of,
like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
This is coming our way. So which I like. I like when we have a good sounder, It's like we haven't had the Ron Torbert music in a while in the off season, so now we've got this.
You're going to have to explain that reference to Charlie, because I'm sure that's one that he's not going to understand. So if you pull that out on a show with him sometime, you're going to really have to get into some history, because it'll be above his head for sure.
Yeah, but Days of Our Lives is soap opera, which, by the way, I appreciated that Trey was doing that in the soap opera time slot, kind of where it belonged, right around 1:00 on a weekday afternoon. That's how it goes, The Days of Our people that like that. So Days of Our Lives is on Peacock now.
I know. I can't believe that. I think that's the meanest thing that's ever been done to old people. My grandmother-in-law, she was a fan of Days of Our Lives and watched it on NBC. And then all of a sudden, it's not on her TV anymore. She's got to figure out apps. That's not fair to ask somebody to do in their 80s. They've watched this program for 40 years. Just let them have it.
Let them have it. All right. So I think we have taken on the latest in the Trey Hendrickson situation. Hopefully that helps. I don't know if it did, but there's plenty more to come there. But meanwhile, we got to talk about our guy, Eric Sztanyo, Keller Williams Realty. You know him, you love him. YouTube Team Sztanyo. You can find him on Twitter at Manyo3, Manyo3. You can hit him up there if you have any. If you know somebody wants to buy or sell a house, make sure you get him hooked up there, because maybe he could be the one. Trey said he's on Zillow all the time. Maybe we need to get him hooked up with Eric Sztanyo. Get him on the street. Maybe he's the one that can help and talk to him a little bit more about comps and what it really means.
Or if he wants to make a little bit of extra money, he can go work with a successful group like the Sztanyo. I mean, he can become like Eric's number 2 guy in the offseason. Helping show houses, that'd be big money for him. That would make up the difference.
Or maybe his friends or his wife or that he talks about a lot, they could end up getting season tickets, like Patrick Ryan did. Boom,
Patrick Ryan.
There it is. There
Growl
it is.
Pal, let's go.
Came down and won. Growl Pal, who won 4 Bengals season tickets, thanks to Sztanyo, gave those away, which was just really, really awesome. They love giving back. The Sztanyo members, they get access to awesome giveaways, free merch, hats, hoodies. Mark, you and I went to their Reds event that they did for everybody. It was unbelievable.
It was awesome.
Huge.
Good times.
It was really cool. And so they do stuff like that all the time. They host those family outings. They've done with the aquarium. They do date nights at golf simulators. They've done that pins in OTR. They've done stuff down there. The Reds game thing is going to be coming up again this year for people that want to go watch a team not score runs, but have fun in the process. That's what you get. That's what you get when you're part of the Sztanyo. They do everything, and you can find your home and strengthen your family and have a good time in the process. So shout out to the Sztanyo, shout out to Patrick Ryan, the Growl Pal, who won. Awesome, and he's wearing the hat. He got a hat too on top of it all, which is great to see.
I didn't know he's got hoodies. So Sztanyo has some nice hoodies too.
I've got 2 of them. I made sure. When I found out there was hoodies, I was like, need the hoodies. Love the hoodies.
Yeah, Sztanyo, you got to hook me up with a hoodie. Come on, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
What I do like, though, and this is savvy business move from him, is like, it's not just like, all right, you buy your house and our relationship's over. He kind of keeps with like these social events and stuff. He kind of keeps people in the fold, and you got to over deliver. That's the key these days in business, and that's what he's doing. He's giving away season tickets to Growl Pals, so that's a winning move in our book.
No, definitely is in our book. Definitely over delivering. Love that. Love Sztanyo. If you or someone you know is looking to buy or sell, email directly info@teamsztanyo.com. That's SZTANYO, or go to www.teamsztanyo.com to connect.
And give us that Twitter one more time. What was his
Twitter is Manyo3, MANYO, and then number 3.
He'll answer any questions that you have, even if they're about urinals and whether or not it makes you a serial killer. He will address that on social media. He's got the time to get to you.
I get a lot of people who ask me about urinals now after that comment, like a concerning amount of people. That there was a guy who came up to me on opening day who was like, I have been kind of battling my wife over the urinal thing, wanting one for a while. And I was thinking, like, my take. That I think all these people are serial killers, right? So a little off-putting for me in that conversation. Right. But I appreciated his approach, and that he was that deep of a Growl Pal that he was like in the urinal conversation. He was hoping that Sztanyo could help him out with that a little more. So
deep cut, but you don't want to go to the guy that's anti-urinal with your pro-urinal stance, because then you're going to go to that wife and be like, hey, listen,
I'm pro Growl Pal, so it evens out.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, maybe we would have to get like a divorce attorney to be our next sponsor if you're going to start breaking up marriages over urinals and your hot takes about serial killers. So
yeah. All right. Questions. What do we got from the Growl Pals?
We got some good ones. So let's dive right into them. This one's from Noah. Obvious concern is for the trenches, but a position that makes me almost just as nervous is linebacker. What do you think is the Bengals' most likely course of action to solve that hole? Is it going to be Jermaine Pratt next to Logan Wilson? Is it going to be a free agent or a draft pick? What's happening at linebacker?
It's a good question. I think that bad things are happening. I think they thought something better was going to be happening at linebacker. Obviously Jermaine Pratt was not in their plans. So hey, does anybody want to trade for Jermaine Pratt thing was put out there. They would like somebody else to be that. It could be Oren Burks still. I was kind of the one thing that was interesting coming out of Palm Beach was I felt like I have a better feel and a changed feeling on some of their draft priorities. It's different than I probably was anticipating, at least just kind of reading the tea leaves and some of the conversations I had in that, linebacker is pretty high up there and they need one. They probably need more than one. And I think they're kind of counting on finding one because they're not planning on going down the Jermaine Pratt road, but they don't really, they whiffed on it in free agency. They didn't find one in free agency beyond Oren Burks, who's more of the Akeem Davis Gaither replacement. You can go down that for a little while with him, but you want to have a rookie who you feel like can take it over. You need the new Logan Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who can come in and play for you at some point during your rookie year. So I'm moving that up to being third on the priority list. I have linebacker above both defensive line positions on their priority list at this point, judging by talking to them. I feel like they have the guard tackle combo player at the top of their list right now, needing the sort of tackle of the future, guard of today type player. Safety, I think is way higher than we would have thought. I think they're looking for the player they can draft, compete with Geno Stone immediately, replace Geno Stone maybe immediately, depending on how early of a draft pick and how impressive they are when they get here. And then linebacker. And then you start getting into the edge rusher and then defensive tackle, because I think there's a spot at edge. I don't think they view there as being that much of a spot available at defensive tackle, despite the fact that they haven't added any real pass rush there. Not saying if Derek Harmon was there at 17, they would just say, no, we're not doing it. I'm not saying that, but I don't think they view it as much of a need as I think a lot of us do, certainly as I do.
Yeah, sure.
But so that was interesting. But I think linebacker is really high up there, so I would expect a draft pick in a significant one, probably, to be dedicated to that position, because they need somebody. I think that's the most likely scenario that, in their mind, ideally, is that somebody that they take is maybe starting next to Logan Wilson or competing with Oren Burks to hopefully be better than him week one. It's not a great spot, man. They have just kind of gotten themselves into a corner there at linebacker.
Yeah, and there's not, you can't get too deep if you're expecting to start that rookie linebacker either. You don't want to be starting like a 4th, 5th round pick. It's going to have to be a day 2 pick, right? Like you're not going to start even like a Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame. I've seen some mock drafts that have him coming to Cincinnati in like the 4th or 5th round, and he's fine. I was a Notre Dame fan. He's fine. He's not going to start on an NFL team. That would be a nightmare.
No, you're using a day 2 pick. I mean, I guess, Jahad Campbell is the one first rounder that is mentioned about the Bengals a bunch, and I don't, he's on the table again with the importance of that position to them. He could come in and he's starting immediately. Outside of that, I mean, I guess 2nd round, who's available in round 2? Is the Schlesinger kid from UCLA still there? Do you go there when you consider all the other needs that they have? That's a lot to do, but again, I think they're kind of in that spot where it's in the conversation right now, because they know that there's a chance that they might need a rookie to start there on opening day.
Here's an easier one for you to answer. This is a quick one from Twitter. This is from Kevin. Can you explain the restructuring of contracts that occurs each year with franchises that exist outside the 275 loop? Does converting something to a signing bonus allow the team to spend more money under the cap? And if so, I guess that costs them more money.
Yeah, it's cash over caps. You're spending more in your cash and less dealing with the cap purposes. It pushes it down the line essentially to where the cap hits move into future years, defer into future years. You pay it out as cash now, and then so you have more cap space today to use on whatever you would need. Void years are used for that specifically. So you see a lot of this usage of void years. Talk about that with the Eagles a lot, where they have all of these contracts, even small ones, tiny ones, but they have multiple void years so that they can spread out all of the cap hits over all of those years, and things can be converted. You can always be converting and restructuring to open up cap space now by deferring the cap hits down the line and then dealing with it then. The Bengals don't like to kick that can down the line. They'd rather just eat it as they go, as they say. And so that's the difference between them and a lot of other teams. And so, yeah, and Burrow, the idea of restructuring for Burrow is that, right? It would be, okay, if you think you don't have enough cap space, you can restructure Burrow and you can push some of his cap hit down the line, pay out as cash now, and have the space that you need if that's what it's about. So yeah, if that's what it's about, there are plenty of different ways that you can do that. They could have done it with T and with Jamar's deals to give themselves a little bit more cap space today too, but they didn't do it that way either. Their numbers are very similar to what they were originally at with the 5th-year option and the franchise tag.
Our next question, this is excluding local beat writers. Who is your favorite NFL writer to hang out with at NFL events, like meetings, Super Bowl, Combine, that sort of thing?
Oh, okay. Well, I do spend a lot of time hanging out with local beat writers, even at the national events. But yeah,
we don't want drama locally of you having to pick a favorite guy on the beat. I mean,
no. I mean, we do like you naturally do. You're doing the same things. You get to these things and like, everybody's team is kind of on a different schedule. The people are looking for different. So you end up naturally around like, Butchie and Kelsey Conway and Ben Baby in terms of who was down in Florida or at the Combine. You're hanging out a lot of times with all the Bengals media that are up there. That said, I there are probably people that because they've been on this show. Like I tend to have a lot of my friends from the league on this show. Ryan Wilson is one who I hang out with the Combine every year from CBS. I'm a big, we're good friends. I'm a big fan of Ryan's. You should be with the First Pick. You should be watching his podcast. He used to with Rick Spielman before, and now I think he has Rand Carthon's his new co-host because Spielman took a job. But him, a lot of athletic people. So, I mean, I hang out with a lot of people because we're stationed everywhere. So Joe Person in Carolina, Josh Kendall in Atlanta. I spend a lot of time hanging out with them. Mark Caboli, when he's awake, I'll hang out with him some. What a weird thing to be a part of, by the way. So for anybody that missed this, so during the coach's breakfast, which isn't a breakfast anymore, and it's very sad. I liked it better when you could judge coaches by which fruit they chose and stuff like that. But Caboli, so now it's just you're sitting around this table early in the morning, and he covers Pittsburgh, and he's got the spot next to Mike Tomlin, who was sweating profusely.
Yeah, I saw that. That was crazy.
And it was hot in there. They had us in a tent on the lawn, and it's like 85 degrees outside, and so it was hot in there.
Vibes, tent on the lawn. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't great, but a photo gets taken of Tomlin with Mark next to him, looking pretty asleep. And so now you can see it, right? You could see it if it's something. Mark says he was not asleep. It was just a 1 second little moment where maybe his eyes were looking down or whatever. I mean, I get it. Hey, we've all been there. It was an unfortunate moment, but then it got the full viral treatment where next thing I know, there's a story on Awful announcing about it. Literally everyone is retweeting it. The Art But Make It Sports Twitter handle actually did one, which was amazing. That was really, I gotta say, like, apologies to Mark for, it's a tough moment. That sucks. And you feel like you got caught in something that didn't happen. But that was funny. Like Arbor
Yeah,
Making Sports was funny when you're getting the full viral car wash. Then at that point, when you get it, and so I felt bad for Mark for that to happen to him. But like you guys know the AFC North people from the Whip Around, Jeff Zrebeck and Zach Jackson. So a lot of athletic people I end up hanging out with at those things. But yeah, I had to call Mark over and be like, "What happened?" He gave me a very long explanation about how he was not asleep. But too late now. It doesn't matter. The internet does not care, Mark. They're coming for you.
Yeah, he's going to have that recited defense, like a defense attorney, the rest of his life, because people are going to be just bringing that up. That was such a big meme moment.
Well, every coach's breakfast forever. It's like the Kaboli seat is going to be known as the one next to the head coach. You don't want to be
no
there.
one wants there. No one wants to be the meme.
No one wants to be there. No. Hey, there's one. That's one of my top 5 rules in life. Wherever you go, don't be a meme.
That's a good one. That's a good one to have.
That's a good one to have.
He's going to show,
especially there.
He might be a meme again next year because he'll probably show up with his eyelids just taped open, just so it doesn't happen again, and that'll make him a meme.
I mean, how far along are we until everyone just cuts out that shot of Kaboli and just starts placing it into every Tomlin interview, everywhere, no matter where it is? It could be in Turks and Caicos, and they'll just like cut and paste Kaboli sitting behind him in a cabana. Sleeping or something like that. It feels like that's what's next.
I mean, listen, the Growl Pals do great Photoshop work. We saw that during Who Dey Light. So if anybody wants to take that and make some magic happen with it, go ahead.
Leave Kaboli alone.
No, join into the alone.
He's been through a lot.
All right. This is a better question. Maybe for our power stacks, maybe we should just kick this over to them. This is another one from Twitter. He wants to know, why do you think the Bengals ownership is in the media spotlight so much more than the Reds ownership? Locally and nationally, the Bengals take much more heat. The current Reds ownership has been far less successful.
The key word there is I'd say media spotlight would be the national. No one cares about baseball nationally, and the finances of baseball, which are a mess, and they can hide behind the small market thing, and the finances are very different there. They should take more heat. People just don't really care about baseball like that. People are more invested. They're more angry. They like to shouty shout about the NFL. They don't like to shouty shout about baseball. It doesn't matter. And so you end up more in the spotlight because it's a lot easier to yell Bengals are cheap and things like that, or they can't do this X, Y, and Z. When, yeah, you're right. The Reds also have made promises of winning and not done any of it. They've done far less winning than the Bengals ever have. I mean, it is what it is. They're the Bengals before Burrow right now. I mean, it's been 30 years since they've won a playoff series. These are the facts of the case, and they are undisputed. It's hard, man. And so, yeah, I just think it's just a fact that the baseball doesn't draw the shouty media and everything that kind of all that comes with that. And it's so much more regionalized. But I think locally people, there's been plenty of voicing of displeasure with Reds ownership locally. I don't think that doesn't exist here at all. It's just it doesn't permeate the national spectrum.
Yeah, for sure. And once you have a little success too, that really kind of emboldens some fans. You want more of it. You want to go back to a Super Bowl. You want to keep, winning playoff games and doing things that matter. And some of that Reds passion, like if the Reds won a few series, this is a baseball town still. So you would see that fire up, and then you'd see a little bit more of that energy and passion. But you're right. I mean, people are still dogging the ownership locally. They're not dodging that completely.
No. And fans are Burrow fans, right? You have Burrow fans, you have Chase fans that now they're invested. The Bengals being a little bit more of a global entity because of those guys. They have these stars that came already prepackaged as people that have young and old fans everywhere. And so then now they're dealing with, don't ruin Joe Burrow, right? And they're learning about the history and the narrative, the old reputations and all that stuff. And it builds on itself in that respect.
So that leads perfectly into our next question from Tyler. This one's a little bit more of a doozy, so hang with me for this.
All right.
He wants to know, is he the only one that doesn't understand the narrative surrounding the Bengals? The cheap Bengals don't pay their players. And when they do, they're dumb because they waited and could have paid them less. wouldn't that make them not cheap that they actually wanted Jamar to be the highest paid non-quarterback? I legitimately don't understand this one. Talk about damned if you do, damned if you don't. He also thinks that Al Golden is going to be the sneaky hire that helps them nail this draft while they focus on keeping Burrow happy. He was at the college level, and he tried to recruit a lot of the players they're mostly likely going to be looking at in the draft as they look to fill the voids on defense. So he could see another good defensive draft coming this year thanks to Al Golden. I think he might be putting a little too much on Al there. And he says, lastly, I've always actually liked the way the Bengals pay players that earned it and expect players to hold up their end of the contract. At the end of the day, it's a business, and if they guarantee you a bunch of money and you stink or don't play and still get paid, that wouldn't make sense to me either. And thank you guys for all the content and blah, blah, blah. There's some nice stuff at the end. So do you think, like, you can really kind of distill this, though, to one, is it better to be stupid or cheap? Like, which one would you rather be? Because that's what he's saying. He's saying, like, they're not cheap. They're just not doing it the way that they should.
Yeah. I mean, I can fix cheap, right? Isn't that kind of the thing? I mean, I can start spending different. I don't know. I agree with a couple of different points in here. I think from a team perspective, yes, not doing guaranteed contracts is a smart thing to do, right? I mean, that's why players fight so hard for them. You also want players to feel like you're going to do right by them in your organization and not feel like they're going to have to fight tooth and nail to feel valued. And so there's that other side of it. But yes, from a dollars and cents business side of it, absolutely, like, it makes more sense. It allowed them to do things like cut weight on Alex Kappa and Sheldon Rankins and a lot of players over the years that had underperformed. It gives them that clearance to do that. So I don't know. I would agree. I don't think the cheap. I mean, I feel like we answer some version of this question every week right now, but like the cheap thing, I think it's just, there are ways that they are. It just stems from, so much of it stems from a very old narrative that has been kind of disproven a bunch recently. And so I hesitate to go down this road again because I feel like we go down it too much. But the Al Golden thing, I've said this a bunch. I think he has more pressure on him than maybe any defensive coordinator in the league. They're asking so much of him because they're asking him to make a defense that was terrible good, and him to be really the sole difference because they brought everybody back outside of the addition of TJ Slayton. And so I just, they're asking him to take another round of draft picks and find a way to make these guys good, including all these former picks that haven't been so good, to suddenly become good because he's here. There's a lot of pressure to put on a guy when you consider that he has to be the reason that all of a sudden Joe Burrow's not having MVP caliber seasons wasted.
Yeah.
It's
And
he's also being really counted on to help them with this draft process. Like, they're counting on him with his view of college football recently to really help them pinpoint what he's looking for, and maybe even some of the players. So yeah, there's a lot on Al Golden, and I think you could see him go from winning the Broyles Award for top college assistant to winning top NFL assistant next year if the Bengals actually do put together a solid defense and go make a run, right? Because he'll be getting so much of the credit because it will be just that. He took the same guys and got a different result, will be what would be said if that happens. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's what's in front of him.
God, imagine how much harder his job would be if the zoo was not good here. It would make it so much more difficult to retain your stars.
The zoo saves Al Golden. That's the storyline here.
That's why he wanted to coach here. He knew that was his ace in the hole right there. This one's from Ray. He says, as you guys start to talk more about the draft, can you give us a refresher on the relative athletic scores? I know Paul's talked about it in previous years, especially for tight ends, but I'm wondering if there are positions where it doesn't really seem to matter. Thank you for everything you do to your bodies.
Oh, nice. There we go.
Good shout out,
well
Ray.
Done, Ray, of course. So relative athletic score is from Kent Lee Platt, who has an amazing handlebar mustache. He is at Math Bomb on X. He basically invented this. He took all the athletic profiles from official testing of draft picks dating all the way back to 1987 and puts them into a formula that combines height, weight, speed, explosiveness, agility from all the different things that they test to give one athletic number across different positions. And then you can see that comparatively over time. So you can athletically compare a player from, JJ Watt to Myles Garrett to, Mason Graham or somebody from this year's draft, whatever you across the same position, and you can kind of get a feel for how different or good or bad the athletic profile is on these players. And you can do that across obviously this draft. So you can get a more generalized, a one specific number rather than having to sift through it all, when there's so many different ways. And there are some positions that are more correlative than others. Edge rushers tend to be pretty correlative when it comes to those scores. Tight ends, successful tight ends tend to have high RAS scores. And so there's a bunch of those, and you can read up more if you want to go follow Mathbomb, and you can go to his site and he explains a lot of it more in depth. But it's basically just one athletic profile score that gives you a good view of what type of athlete you're dealing with and that you have compared to others at the same position.
This next one, I like this next one because it's a little bit more offbeat. We're getting a little bit more into the Who Dey Light territory that we are known for. This is from Brian. He says, I'm going to avoid the podcast flattery. Keep getting better. Always be growing. Like that. Keep us humble.
Yeah, humble.
He says he occasionally sees car flag guys rolling around the tri-state area. He wants your take on this. Is the flag community a big tent and they are part of it, or is car flagdom a savage abomination? Often these flags are tattered, perhaps not changed with as much regularity and intentionality, and by definition, the flag is much more in others' faces, like a bumper sticker. How do you, as a proud member of the flag community, come down on car flags?
I don't like car flags. I agree with you. I feel like it's too much. There's only one time where car flags are appropriate, and that is on your way to a game. Because if you're tailgating, this is your new house, right? Like your car is becoming your house for this day, okay? But if you just like have multiple car flags out your back window on your way to work every day, like it's too much. Like no one needs that. You're getting into people's faces. It's in front of your house, in your space. That's you're not shoving it in anybody else's face. And the car flags are small. You usually can't hardly even tell what they are anyway. It's just too much drawing attention, where I just feel like the flag in front of your house is just the one thing you're standing for that day. You can see it when you go by. It's not in anybody's face. That's me. That's me. I'm okay with it on the way to a game. Outside of that, I don't want to see car flags. I do feel like it kind of disrespects the entire industry a little bit.
As a flag purist, I think that's bold of you to take that stance, and I appreciate that. I can understand it to a pretty significant degree, but the one caveat, the one carve out we should make with the car flags, I think that more people could utilize this too, is anytime you're stuck in traffic, right? You pull out one of those little funeral car flags, you put that right on top of your car. You start driving on the shoulder like you're trying to catch up to the procession that you lost somehow. No one's going to judge you for that. They'll be like, oh, that guy's just lost. He's trying to catch up. I feel like it's a nice little traffic hack. Maybe consider that.
They're judging you now. I can tell you that much.
Yes, they are. And probably judging me if I ever actually tried to do that in real life, because they would just eventually somebody would see me pull into a Chipotle parking lot and they're like, yeah, your gig is up at this point.
Has a funeral procession ever gone through a Chipotle? Like the guy who passes loved Chipotle, and like everybody.
This is the last one
drive-through, so the entire funeral procession goes all the way through the drive-through, and everyone orders like his favorite meal there. Like we're all gonna go, and we're each gonna get a McMuffin from McDonald's. Like that was his favorite.
Honestly, not a bad like last prank thing. Like if it's a guy that loved that sort of thing, like we're gonna take the hearse through the McDonald's drive-through just to see how many people will follow us on this, and that'll be one last gag from a quirky uncle or whatever. That'd be a good bit. I like it.
And then imagine just in your morning routine trying to just go get your McMuffin and coffee and you're late for work and an entire funeral procession is in front of you.
Yeah,
It's
no
brutal.
one's going to believe you, too. You get to the
No.
office, you're like, there were 40 cars in front of me for my McMuffin because somebody died. You're like, okay,
You can't
get
sell
out of
that
here.
to your boss. No way.
How about an ambush light question? You ready for that? This one's for you, too.
All right. Wow. All right. Let's go.
Huge fan of the podcast, Jackson says. He listens religiously during his lunch break. Really helps get through the week, and he's excited for more off-season content. Well, you're in luck because you're going to get a lot of it. But here we go. I've got an ambush question for honorary Florida man Paul. Run, pass, or boot the following scenarios. Close encounter with a gator. Confrontation with a shirtless, tweaking, hasn't slept in 36 hours Florida man. Or 12 hours at Magic Kingdom as a solo and kidless adult.
Definitely different levels of questionable. I will say only one of these doesn't potentially kill me. So I'm going to go to Magic Kingdom by myself and just enjoy the most magical place on earth, look creepy doing it, but be very alive afterwards. And so I'm here for that. I feel like I'll have a better time dismantling, shall we say, the shirtless, tweaking, hasn't slept in 36 hours Florida man than the gator. Close encounter, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that. I don't think I can stop a gator. I can't wrestle one. And so I'm just going to assume that I will definitely lose to the gator. I might be able to calm down the tweaker. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not happy about it, but I think my chances of survival are better with the tweaker than the gator here.
So your game plan is to try and calm him down if you're going up against the tweaker?
Or I don't know. I don't think I'll outrun him because he's probably on some sort of drugs that he's just going to continue to he's not going to stop. Right.
You got to out crazy him is what you got to do.
You
do something that's going to turn him away. Or say,
I gotta get big, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Don't you supposed to get big and like scare off the animals, right? Isn't that how it works?
I think the only way you could probably scare off a perfect stranger in that situation would be like, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. I want you to listen to my podcast." And then he'd be like, "All right, no, I'm not messing with this guy.
No, I'm out.
I'm going to go find a gator to bother."
No, you'll have Jackson. You will happily see me alone creeping out people at Magic Kingdom, but living to tell the story.
Another great batch of questions from the Growl Pals. Keep sending them to the Growler Podcast at gmail.com. We appreciate all of our Growl Pals. And I got to shout out Joe from North Carolina, Growl Pal Joe. He came out to the show in Raleigh and had some killer food wrecks. So shout out Joe.
What was the food wreck that he gave you in Raleigh that you loved so much?
The breakfast spot was a state farmers market restaurant. It was incredible. Maybe the best Southern breakfast I've had. And then I can't remember the name of the place in Chapel Hill, but there was a really good sandwich place there, which was incredible. So sometimes people on the road will give you recs and it's like, oh, this is a Panera. Okay. I'm glad this is your big thing. But he was thorough with his recs and both places were dynamite and that helped liven up the trip. Plus he came out to the show and I went out with his crew afterwards to watch some NCAA basketball. So it was
love it.
That's what we like for encounters with the Growl Pals is, bring something to the table and then it makes the hang a lot better.
Shout out Joe and giving more to the Growl Pals is now anyone's going through Raleigh. Now they know if you're in Raleigh, go, you've got it. You've got a great breakfast place to go to. Speaking of Growl Pals, I want to, take a moment. I want to start doing more of this. We get some of this and whether it's people that want to shout out a small business here locally or a charity or an event they're doing. We mentioned this on Who Dey Light last week. It was a question about a golf outing that was going on, and they're like good causes, and we want to kind of find some way to get these out there so you guys can go and support these great causes that are out there. We're going to try to do more of this, but this one I want to bring up. It is the 4th annual Swing for Hope charity golf outing. It's happening at Kenton County Golf Course on Saturday, May 31st. It's a great event. It's essentially it's for they raise awareness about infertility and provide emotional and financial support to those that are battling the challenges and complexities of it. A great cause, and they're doing great things for that and going out and having a good time in the process. You can join if you want to go play in the outing. If you want to be a sponsor, they're looking for sponsors. It's coming up. Info at parentalhope.org. You can go to that website as well, parentalhope.org, and get all the information about their cause and what they do. This is a great cause. If you're a Growl pal and you want to just get into a golf outing and go play, or you want to just be part of something that's going to be a cool event, go check them out. If you want to be a sponsor, I highly recommend doing that too. We want to try to get more of the word out on some of this stuff that's here. So if you have something that's important to you, or somebody that you want to shout out for something that they're doing, or just a small business that you love, let us know. Send it to us, thegrowlerpodcast@gmail.com. We're going to try to create a regular space for it so we can kind of get some of this stuff out there for you guys.
Some good Growl pal positivity. And you don't even have to care about the cause. Charity golf outings are fun. Take somebody. You're not even crashing. You're just part of it. It's a big Growl pal tent here. So go ahead, take some buddies out there, and you drink, you play golf, and you raise money for a good cause. That's what I like about charity golf outings, is because you can just drink and play golf and feel like you're a hero. That's the only vice that you can. I mean, you can't just like do cocaine for the troops. Like, that's not, but you can drink beers on a golf course and help kids or raise money for a school or something like that. It's a vice that has a happy ending.
I'm here if you're just walking by and you just see a flyer of cocaine for the troops, just to see how many. If it's one of those that has the little tabs on the bottom that you can pull off, and like they've all been pulled off. Everybody's been like, "I'm in for cocaine for the troops. Where are we going?"
But you get what I'm saying? The charity golf outings where it's at.
Hopefully we don't get a bunch of like coked up Growl pals that show up at this awesome charity event and be like, "Oh, we're Growl pals." Don't do that. Don't embarrass all of us, please. But yeah, go out there. Love it. Check them out.
Oh, quick plug.
Cocaine for the troops.
We're going to do that as our next big fundraiser. Everyone's going to do cocaine for the troops.
Oh, man. Where are you taking some of these funny lines soon here, Mark? Where are you going?
Let's see. Next stand-up plugs. I'll be at Richmond, Indiana on April 12th. That's a big show. I don't remember the name of the venue. That would be helpful, but just Google it. Just Google my name.
You'll
Richmond,
find
Indiana.
it. Just walk around.
It's
not a huge town. Just walk around and ask if anybody's seen Mark.
Yes, you will find the show. It's a good time. And then I'm going to Key West, Florida, April 23rd through 26th at Comedy Key West, an incredible club. And so if you live in the Florida area or just want to take a trip to Key West, it's a good time of year. Yep, go, and we'll have fun. And
the weekend, remind me on the show before you go, we're going to spend a bunch of time going through recs for people that ever go to Key West, because I have a million of them living down there. We'll do the full Key West thing, so that anybody, if you're ever going or you need to be sold, this is not going to be sponsored by Key West Tourism. I just love it that much. I promise you.
I mean, you live there. You got the insider.
Oh, I got the insight. It's heaven on earth. It's heaven on earth. I'm so jealous of you. I'm gonna be in the bunker of Paycor Stadium for 3 days, morning, noon, and night, and you're gonna be at my favorite place on earth doing shows. I'm just so jealous.
Yeah, it's a good time. I wish you could be there with me, but you've got a higher calling to attend to, and I respect that. What is going on in your world in dad life?
Sweet. Oh, well, first of all, I want to shout out as part of this. So whenever you're listening to this today, tomorrow, it may have already happened. It is Mike McConnell's last show on 700 WW. He's retiring. I want to give a big congratulations out to Mike. People might not know this. You hear me talk about my wife all the time, but Mike is my father-in-law. And so it's been cool to see him sort of go through at the end and get towards retirement. And now to have the big moment on Friday where he's going to do his last show, sign off for the last time. He is a legend and as good as anybody has been in that forum for a long, long time. And it's going to be really cool. We're going to take the girls up there to the show, and we're all going to go there. And so when he signs off, we're all going to be up there for the last hour, his last hour on radio. So congratulations to him. It's going to be a fun day for us on Friday going up there for that. But the other dad life thing that I have here is Have you guys dealt with the recorder?
We have.
Yeah. So like this happened, right? The recorder gets sent home. This
Yeah.
happened a couple years ago. The recorder made its way home and it like went in a toy bin and it was gone and we were all very thankful. I hate it when the toy gets pulled back out and
Oh,
you did not
no.
see it coming.
Yeah.
The other day, when I was in Palm Beach, my wife sends me a video of my youngest daughter with the recorder back out, marching around the kitchen with the recorder, playing it. And I'm like, oh no, it's back. And then apparently we have not one, but two cat pianos. Did you have the cat piano?
What's the cat?
It's a little keyboard that plays cat sounds instead of regular. Like
Ugh.
it was given as a gift when they were like 2, you know, but somehow every other toy or anything that we have in the house that they use that you actually want to last dies immediately and you have to spend hours fixing it. Both cat pianos have lived on for almost a decade now.
You got to get rid of those things. What are you doing?
They were doing a whole show of annoying musical instruments. It was recorder, cat piano, marching band through our kitchen when I came home. I'm like, this is not what I need right now. Like this is a real I really thought we were past this. It's way worse when something that you had been tortured by in the past comes back into your life where you're just like, no, it's back. I thought we were done with it. And it's really demoralizing. That was a pretty hurtful moment. It was supposed to be a fun parade of recorder and cat piano sounds. Instead, it was very, very hard for me to take coming back from delightful Florida.
Yeah, especially because you thought you missed it in Florida. You know, she brought it out for a day. Maybe it'll be gone by the time that I get back. And then you get back and you're like, I wish I was here for the tornadoes. That would have been a little bit more interesting, a little bit more compelling than the recorder concert.
What do you got going on?
For me, we hard wreck here, especially since it's a rainy time in Cincinnati. Go to the zoo during the rain. Zoo in the rain is where it's at. We went last weekend, and it was supposed to be rainy on Sunday morning, so nobody was there, right? And that's the perfect way to do it because it wasn't actually raining, but so many people got scared off by the weather reports, and you could go anywhere. There was no crowds, and that was 100% the best way to do it. Even if there's a light drizzle, kids can take it. The animals, they like it. They're moving around a little bit more in the rain. Definitely a hard wreck for the zoo in the rain.
This show loves the zoo. That's what we've learned today. Us and Trey Hendrickson.
Yes.
Big fans of the zoo. There's no doubt. And by the way, I assume most people know this if you're a zoo member. But go use the hour early. Use that at your disposal. You can go in an hour before all the public can go in. It is a great time to get in there, and there's no better feeling than leaving at like 10:45, going past the long line of all the peasants, the non-members that are in the line trying to get in and be like, already did it, on our way home, see you later, like did the thing and we're out. Use the early entry whenever you have. You can go in an hour before it normally opens when you get in that. Use it. It's very important. And then do it during the rain, even better.
Yep. And you can wake up those gorillas yourself.
Yep. then go see Trey Hendrickson, and he'll be talking to you all about how unfair it was that Max Crosby's deal was not replicated at the giraffe area. It's great. All right. We did it. Another show in the books. We are getting much closer. The draft is less than 3 weeks away now. So more draft coverage coming your way next week. Mo will be back next week. We'll be all back and getting fully ready for the draft, which is right around the corner. So keep an eye out for all that. All your normal run of shows will be coming your way. So thanks everybody for listening. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.